Welcome to our second National Academy of Construction Ask Me Anything webinar for the fall 2024 semester. My name is Burcin Becerik-Gerber. I'm an NAC member and a professor and department chair of the Hastane Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of Southern California. The theme for this semester is entrepreneurship in design and construction industry, something very dear to me as well. And I'm thrilled to be here with Marco Campos today. So National Academy of Construction was established in 1999 to recognize our industry leaders. An important purpose of the Academy is to share the collective knowledge and experience of our members to improve our industry. We have established the Ask Me Anything webinar series to help transfer knowledge of our members to our next generation of construction leaders, you all, with this webinar providing a means to link past and present participants in the construction industry. Our sponsors this year are the University of Florida Rinker School of Construction, Arizona State University Del E. Webb School of Construction, and the University of Colorado at Boulder Construction Engineering and Management Program. The format of these webinars is very simple. Our speakers will make a short presentation about a topic and their perspectives on the industry, followed by the time to answer your questions. So if you haven't submitted your questions yet, please email them to nacama@austin.utexas.edu. I believe Sandy also put the email address in the chat. One student will be randomly selected to win a $500 scholarship, which will be announced at the end of this event. So it's my great pleasure to have Marco Campos today with us. He is the founder and executive chairman, chief culture officer of Campos Holding Company, headquartered in Denver, Colorado. In just under 20 years, with now over 800 employees, the Campos family of companies includes 8 companies that are focused in and around energy infrastructure throughout North America. A native of Denver, Marco knew at an early age that he wanted to run his own company. He earned a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Colorado Boulder. He has worked in a variety of engineering operations, project management, and management capacities for oil and gas, pipeline, terminal, and consulting companies. He maintains an in-depth knowledge of pipeline operations, maintenance, and construction with an emphasis on pipeline integrity management. After working in different engineering and project management roles for 8 years, he founded Campos EPC, his initial company. The Campos Foundation was created through his passion to evaluate underrepresented minorities and women in the pursuit of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics careers. As a registered professional engineer, over the years, he has served on several company and university advisory boards. In 2017, CU Boulder recognized him with its Distinguished Alumni Award. With that, Marco, I'll pass the microphone to you for short introductions, and then we'll move to students' questions.
Well, thank you for that. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate that introduction. I'm Marco Campos with Campos Holding Company. Again, I'm the founder and the executive chairman now. That's a recent development here in the past 6 months. I've handed over CEO reins to the Campos family of companies, and we are companies centered in and around energy. We are not an oil and gas company. We are an energy company, and so we deal in all facets of from feasibility to commissioning of any kind of asset associated with power. And that could be natural gas, it could be electricity, it could be hydrogen, it could be wind, solar, whatever have you. We deal with it, and we try to be a cradle to grave type solution for our clients, and we definitely look for partners that we work with, whether those are clients or vendors or people in the community. One thing that I do want to highlight, and I hope does become a topic of conversation, a focal point in these questions, is in and around entrepreneurial spirit, what that means, specifically when you talk about involvement in your respective communities. Okay, so one of the things that has been very important to me is I've maintained a chief culture officer role in the company, because that is integral, I believe, to our DNA and how we operate as people. Right. I mean, our mission is to elevate women and underrepresented minorities in and around STEM. Our mechanism to do that is our companies. And you have to be good at doing companies in order to feed the ultimate mission. And I think we are good at that, right? We have 8 winners. This past week, I sold one of our companies, or at least 2/3 of it, for a lot of money, which is fantastic. And we feel very good about that because it's going to allow us to continue growth into our other companies while also elevating our communities at the same time. So it's we have a particular passion around that. I come from very humble beginnings. I understand first generation trials and tribulations. You know, don't ask me where I stand politically because I couldn't tell you. This is a very divisive world we live in right now, but we align around our mission at my companies, okay? And so it's a pleasure to be here today. I'm an open book. I've been through a lot, as we all have been. I try to say and believe that our people are our power. My people at work are my power. That's my source of energy. I take a high degree of accountability for them and the 800 families that count on us for gainful employment in alignment to their value propositions every day. And so it's a pleasure to be here, and I hope I understand this is mostly students. I talk to students all the time, so it's okay. No question's a dumb question, and I mean that. I'm happy to share whatever I can in this limited amount of time that we have. Thank you.
Students, you heard Marco. There's no bad question. Please send your questions to the email address in the chat. So I will start with Daisy Rosas's question. What inspired you to start your entrepreneurial journey in the design and construction industry? And what were the most significant challenges you faced early on?
Well, so, as a first generation student, and some of you obviously are maybe not be living that path. I didn't have a lot of mentorship. I still don't. I would say I was somewhat naive in the operations and the business practices. But what I did have was an engineering degree, and I did know how to calculate risk, right? And take calculated risks in the things that I do, right? Whether it's engineering equations or the fundamentals of life, and being able to look at economics or a business situation and calculate profit and overhead and things of that nature. To this day, I've never had an accounting finance class, but I know more than most accountants. Okay. I could tell you that the engineers, and I believe that engineering is the toughest undergraduate degree that you could get, but it's also the one that's going to give you the most opportunity to do something special as you move forward. So when I came out, I as a first gen, married, 2 kids, big fat mortgage. I was doing pretty well coming out of school. Fortunately, I was top of my game. But I knew very early on that I wasn't going to be working for someone my whole life. I wouldn't. And so I had a goal that by 30, which is a very young age in my industry, to start my first company. And I worked for different companies. You mentioned some of those in the introduction. I ultimately worked for a consulting company. It was a big one. I'm not going to name names, but it's a big one now. And they provided me 4 walls and a laptop. Okay. I did all the hiring, firing, the networking. I found the opportunities. I found the business. I managed the people, did the hiring, firing, everything. Okay, the management of a business services unit, and that was a challenge, right? And it was tough, and at the time I didn't know, and I always call this a superpower. When you don't know, and you just know enough, that you can be very dangerous, but you're fierce. And I was fierce, and I continue to be fierce because I'm somewhat naive. And when I say naive, I don't say that in a bad way. I say it in a way that I know enough, as much as the next guy and gal. But when I get into a certain situation, I'm not going to be overwhelmed by the circumstances. Okay. Imposter syndrome is a very real thing. And I can tell you, I've never once have I stepped into a boardroom or some other environment where I felt like I was overpowered. Okay. Or I was outmanned, outgunned. You got to bring it. You got to bring it. You got to show up and be confident in what you can do, and understand that you're ultimately going to get to a place that some people may not recognize or want you to be at, from whether it's jealousy, maybe it's envy, maybe it's they don't think you're capable. But at the end of the day, it's up to you and your skill set. If you're able to monetize it and you have a little bit of a plan, you can do something with it. So my biggest challenge was actually getting the guts to talk with the president of that company, And I said, look, all this is happening. At the time I wanted to start a business in Hawaii, an office in Hawaii, because I wasn't advancing the way I wanted. I wasn't aligned to the value that I brought. And so I said, I got all this book of business in Hawaii. I want to go out there and start an office. I got my PE in Hawaii. He said, no, it's too much risk. And we looked at each other, and I said, well, then I quit. And he looked at me, thought he could outman me, and said, okay. Next day, he came in and he said, wait a minute, we have all this work. You have this group. We don't know how to do it. You're going to leave. And I said, well, no kidding. And so here's my rate sheet. You're going to be my first client, right? And by the way, I've talked to all my other clients because you didn't align me to the value that I brought. And I told you to. They're coming with me. I'm taking all this business. I'm going to give you 10% off the top. The rest is mine. And from that day forward, they were my best client the first year or two. I took all these other clients and I was growing from then. So it started in my basement. I had all the challenges around me of people, family, coworkers. Everybody knows better, right? Everybody will tell you how to do it, what's best for you. And I'll tell you all this right now. Don't ever take advice from someone who hasn't done it. Don't do it. Okay, I was able to overcome all that. And frankly, to this day, there's some people I can't even talk to about some things because they don't know. They don't know. And if they don't know, why would you be asking them? So it's a challenge, and it's one that I continue to battle with to this day, because you want people to be involved. They want them to be part of who you are, right, in your development and hopefully your prosperity. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. And so that's something that I learned through that process. That was difficult, but I didn't look back, and the grind was real, and the loss of sleep is real. And people, you have to differentiate between an entrepreneur and a CEO. Okay, you have to learn those differences. These are things that you've all heard about, but it's very real. I puke in my shower about every 2 weeks still. Okay, I have a lot of money in the bank, but I'm puking in the shower. Okay, there are things that happen as you grow in your path that are overwhelming, right? Decisions I still make today that if I took those on 15, 20 years ago, it would have killed. I'd have a heart attack. And so what you do is you calcify yourself over time, and you become effectively, the amount of pressure you could handle is about how the magnitude of who you become, I guess, is a good way to put that. Now, for me, the way I'm quantifying my success is not with wealth. There's two things. One is my family. And those that I love, are they fully taken care of? Do they need? They do not. They do not need. They have not, they have what they need. The second is, what am I doing in my communities? What is my legacy? And this is a place where I find leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs fall short, period. Okay, they may be in medicine. All I do is help people. Well, you do it for a profit. What do you do with your profits to help people? Okay, and that's how I always gauge. So for us, it's become fundamental to us that we put profits and community outreach and work the same level. And we've done that for almost 20 years now, and it's very exciting to us. And so the way I've overcome all this adversity is knowing my goal, the mission: elevate others, do good in the community, feel good about that. That's the best part of my job. These other parts about doing business, being good engineers, yes, super important. That's the minutia. But now that I'm an executive chairman now, I deal differently. And so it's taken me 20 years, right, of business. And so through that time, I've developed 8 different companies, all of them successful, by the way. But they each feed each other. So we'll have a fabrication company. We got a construction company. We've got an engineering company. We got a staffing agency, blah, blah, blah. We got technology companies. The one we just sold 2/3 of, 8 of those. And they form a circle and they feed each other, right? And all of a sudden, this ecosystem is very powerful, and it brings a lot of credibility. A couple months ago, we're now a tier 1 sponsor, Denver Broncos. We're doing that not as to promote the companies. We're doing it at the head of the foundation. Holy crap! What's a Campos Foundation, right? We're starting to get a name with that, and then they dive into who are the companies and all that stuff. But every company that we work with has a mission. Typically it aligns with ours when I talk about community. Now, some of it may be lip service and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we want to align with partners. And it's really interesting to me as I've grown, matured, that I understand partners are way more important than a project. Okay. We go multi-years. I don't want a onesie twosie client for $50 million project. I don't want it. Okay. I want that 10-year client that's giving me $2 million a year. Okay, because you're able to, your learning curves, your quality, your relationships, your commercial matters, right? You talk about like legal issues. Legal becomes a monster. If you're not being sued, you're not doing anything. Okay, we have a handful of lawsuits any given time. It's just a reality of business. It used to scare me to death. I used to be proud that I never got sued for like the first 10 years. Get the first one, it's like, oh my God, no, it's congratulations. It's a congratulations because you're successful and people are coming after you. And that's where you want to be. I like hater groups. I like haters. Okay. I actually brag about my haters. It sounds cocky, but they feed me. They feed us. They want to see us fall, but we keep going. And every time, I post on LinkedIn or I do something special, you hear the sighs. And it's a wonderful feeling because we know we're leaving a good impression in the world. So I don't know. That was a long answer.
That's
But
great. That was fantastic.
I'm
And
rambling a little bit to hopefully to get some, to encourage others to maybe catch something that they might be interested in hearing about. But that was my most difficult step is step one, telling that person across the table from you that you're going to do this, having a plan on how to develop, how to make that develop, not overthinking because you're not going to know the answers. Okay. But knowing that you got something, you can monetize it and you got to run with it.
wow, wonderful answer. So many things to take away. I'll follow up with Ryan Domiko's question. What are the issues that you have seen in your years as an engineer in terms of minority representation or inequality in the workplace? If you have seen issues, was anything done to eliminate them or to make changes?
I mean, that's all I see is issues. But you know what I do see a lot of is complaining and I wish. Okay, that take that away. It doesn't belong in my companies. It doesn't belong in my mentality. I'm either going to do or do not. Okay, I'm not trying to be corny here, but I wish and I complain and well, what are you doing about it? So what are we doing about it? We identified STEM with women and underrepresented minorities as a problem from day one. And from day one, I've been giving money. We've been doing summer bridge programs. We've been doing scholarships, facilities, whatever we could afford. But making sure that we were trying to do something. And from day one, that is where I felt my biggest uplifting as a human being. Okay. Now, taking care of my family, doing these other things that were so critical to me growing up. I mean, growing up, but again, didn't have anything. We were robbed all the time. I was, no holiday. It just like, it's just tough stuff, but who cares? Okay. A little bit of trauma isn't going to hurt anybody. It actually makes you stronger. You take that and you feed off of it. And I recognize that in business, that there's more to business than a paycheck. I think there are other companies out there like that. They're far and few between though. And I can tell when we talk about these new generations coming in that are truly looking for a value proposition, it's difficult. It's difficult because companies, excuse my candor, they don't give a shit. Okay, they don't, and it's profits. And so to being able to find a value proposition where you can align to, where you feel like you could be doing good for the world while still making a living is a challenge. And I think that's kind of going to be one of the defining things that comes of the next two generations out of college.
Great. I'll follow up with Marcella Yushuwagyev's question. So what did you prioritize in order to achieve your goals in STEM?
What did I prioritize? I'm not sure exactly what that means in terms of STEM. I mean, so we have a lot of problems, right? And you can only affect your sphere of influence. This is what I was telling myself and my people. Some people have bigger spheres than others, but you can't worry about the election, right? You could vote, but you can't worry about that, right? Your day-to-day, what can you affect in your world? What can you change? What can you manage to keep your headspace clear, to keep you on a track? Underrepresented minorities and women in STEM is a monster issue. We started it with one summer bridge program. That was the first thing. Well, actually, we did a little bit of scholarships, and we did a summer bridge program at one university. Then we did internships. Then we did mentorship stuff. Then we did STEM labs. Then we did student success centers. It's been a culmination of things over 20 years. So now we have a kindergarten through employment pathway for women and underrepresented minorities that is scalable. My plan is to take that to every one of our locations across North America, 30 plus locations, and do that. And we do that to some degree, but it's growing. It takes a lot of money, and we're self-funded in our foundation. We don't take outside money. Okay. So my companies have to do well for us to do good. And so that model has been it's in-house. And so it's on us, and everybody seems to take that very seriously. So the short answer is we took it piece by piece, and there's still a lot of work to do, but we have a model that we can replicate and is scalable, and we know that it works. Okay, I'll give you an example. Student Career Center, it's called the Bolt Center at the University of Colorado. Retention for freshmen, sophomores is typically 80s, I think, but as high as 90 some locations. With this Bolt Center, we're 95% plus. The center focuses on women and underrepresented minorities. So that is something we did. That is something that we did, and that's something that nobody could take. We've also done things like making sure that in Colorado, I don't know if USC has this or not, but if you're a first generation Colorado student in engineering, you debt free, and you're Palo Alto eligible. And we did that. My company did that. And so we're pioneers, and I'm very proud of it. And I can't say enough about our team and the hard work that they put into it every day to help us prioritize. But I can tell you there's hands are out everywhere. Everybody, if I asked you for money, you'd probably say we need XYZ dollars at USC for blah, blah, blah. Everybody needs it. But we have to find the right demographic. Working with organizations like universities is hard, because frankly, a lot of times you will not move the needle. So we've had to take some of that on ourselves, but it can be done. And so, it's just prioritizing that, and the dollars that we do have is not easy. It's difficult. We can't help everybody, but we could have a heart, and we could show people that we have a heart and do our best.
Great. I'll shift a little bit. Sung Su is asking, as a founder and a leader of a company, how do you find the right qualified person you needed?
So, at the beginning, actually it's easier because I had a network of people. I think the first 25, 30 people I hired in the company were pretty much people that I knew, and I knew well. Quality wasn't so much an issue. These were people I trusted. I knew they were aligned to the values. Some of them I gave some ownership. Some of them I gave very high salaries. Some of them I gave a percent of what they were billing. I mean, I had these opportunities when you're young and dumb, and to do lots of different things. Okay, and to be creative, right? To attract people. The key is to aligning an individual to the success that they bring, in my mind. You do that, and whether that's money, whether it's helping in the community, maybe it's time off, or whatever that value proposition is to them, you find out with that person. If they're a shark, you build off of them. And what I've been successful in doing is finding sharks. So at every company, my companies are led by presidents who are sharks. They have directors, and it just kind of flows down and down and down to a certain level. We identify at what level we're really going to start aligning people to the value that they bring. Typically, it's a director and higher. They've demonstrated some acumen and ability to get business and execute work and make projects profitable, et cetera. And if you bring those people to the table, it's no longer just me. Marco can only do so much, right? I found my limit about 6 months in terms of what I can make, in terms of what I can make profitable, how I could impact the communities, all things, project scales, all the things that I could do. As I've grown now, that breadth and opportunity to do more is there, but it's more complicated. When you start dealing with personalities, super complicated, and everybody has an agenda. So to me, I line them around a mission, helping others, right? Women, underrepresented minorities, and their value proposition. Do those two things. That's how I grew.
Great. Niall Nassar is asking, what do you think was the difference between your company and 80% of the companies go bankrupt in their first years?
Me, right? I believe in me. Okay, I'm not going to lose. I do not lose. I don't want, that whoever asks that, you do not lose. I do not go into something thinking that I'm going to lose. Okay, there's no plan B. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to execute, and it's going to have problems. And it might not look like what I thought when to get out the other end, but it will move and it will generate income and we'll figure it out. You know, I very much believe in organic growth. I don't like private equity money. I don't like other people's dollars telling me what's what. It's on me. So I came out of college with a good job, a little bit of a bank account. Again, I had a big fat mortgage and 2 kids and a wife at the time. Now I got 4, no wife. But you know, things morph over time. Things change. That wasn't the plan. But that's how it turned out. And I just think that we frequently get caught up in the planning and the overthinking and wow, this person says this. I don't care. My banks don't ask me for business plans anymore. They stopped doing that 10 years ago because they're ridiculous. We give them some structural outline. We put together some budgets, but you give me a business plan, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. But now I want some strategy. I want some milestones, right? I need something to hold people accountable to, but you will not know how it's going to end up. You won't. It'll change. So for you to plan 5 years out, it's ridiculous. It's a waste of time. Sometimes people make you go through that. You do it if you're forced to, but I don't do that anymore.
So it seems like you have been your lived experiences have been very important for you. But I have a question related to your academic preparation. So Aiden Mackey is asking, how did your classes in school prepare you for your current career, and what work experience would you recommend in terms of learning the ropes of running a company?
So I think just an engineer, and I'm not an engineer's engineer. Okay, now I've done design, I've done things of that nature. But right now, my goal in life was not to stamp drawings. Okay, some people's is. Some people want to be an individual contributor. That's okay. You can do well in that role, but it's important that you decide what that is so you can maximize your opportunities in that type of environment. I was good in school. I wasn't great, but I learned the system by my junior and senior year. I was a machine. Okay, crank out 4.0s because I knew the system. I knew the system, right? I mean, I think those first 2 years you go through your weed outs and blah, 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 and that's difficult. Once I got the system, I had it down and knew what to do. I also worked 20 hours a week. Okay, I was on the 5-year plan. I had to put myself through college. So it wasn't easy. And I maybe didn't have a traditional, but I played rugby. I played rugby for 5 years. That was my fraternity. That was my outlet. And that was my chance to go kick some butt on the weekends and, you know, have a little bit of fun. And so that was good. So preparation wise, the rigor, right? Your deductive reasoning and what you get from engineering classes, I think is second to none. That teaches you calculated risk. The business side, if you're an introvert and you're scared to talk to people, I don't know. I don't really know how to express what to do in that situation because that wasn't me. Okay. I knew where I was fighting. Coming out the gate, I was fighting for my future and where I was going to be, and I was going to build something special. I didn't know what, but I knew I wanted to build something special. And I knew that my clients liked me. I knew that my clients trusted me. I knew that my clients would give me money. Right. And I wasn't scared to have those direct conversations with them. Right. You got to put yourself out there. But if you're a different type of person, you're saying, everyone says they want to be an entrepreneur, but they do that until they're puking in the shower and then they run, right? Or they can't get past the business plan, or they can't get past oh my God, this is scary. I just want my 9 to 5 and I want to check every month, but I want the title entrepreneur. You got to earn it. You got to earn it. And this is the hardest right now is the hardest job I've ever had. And it just gets harder and harder and harder, but you learn to manage it. And so, you know, as you calcify yourself, as you get a stronger gut to handle things and decisions as you go forward, you got to challenge yourself. If you're staying in your comfort zone, here's another, you know, everyone hears this. You're not growing anywhere if you're in your comfort zone. You know, I see this from kids. I call you all kids because you're kids coming out of college right now. They won't move. All the opportunities for the company you get with are probably not where you're hired in. You've got to move. You've got to put your family on notice. I'm going to move. Yeah. Oh, hito, whatever you're leaving. No, leave. Go do better so you could elevate your family in a later date. Okay. So I always encourage people, learn a new geography. If you're in your 20s and you don't move twice in your 20s, that's a failure to me, because you're not culturally ready. Your perspectives aren't there. You know, one geographic location and one company piece. You know, provided you're in a national company or a worldwide company, whatever. And so you got to get out there and learn that the world is not what you think it is. And how are you going to do business in a bigger world than what you know?
Great. So I'll move to a couple questions that are asking for your advice. So Dayanara Zapata is asking, what advice do you have for underrepresented groups in college as a STEM major?
I love engineering. Okay, engineering. I'm assuming she's engineering. I don't know. I liked civil just because it was more dirt and metal and structures and things of that nature. You get in engineering, that's what I would suggest, right? And well, there's a few things, right? There's entertainment, there's infrastructure, right? Power and medicine and agriculture. I don't know what this AI world is going to produce right now. I would not go into computer science if it were me. There's just too many variables and risk in that, but there's always opportunity in that. It's just not my comfort level. I would stick to some kind of engineering and get in one of those areas, aligned to AI, and come in with an attitude that you're going to do whatever you have to do to make it. And I know that sounds corny. Everybody says that, but are you going to move? Are you going to work a little bit later? Are you willing to sacrifice a little bit of family time? Maybe 5 years worth to get there. And if you're not, that's okay. But don't think you're going to get there. And don't start wishing and complaining and everything when you see your peers moving ahead of you, because they are making those sacrifices. And believe me, they are sacrifices. There is no perfect job. I am in a position to make what you would believe to be the perfect job. And it is not perfect. Okay, it is. I'm puking in the shower every couple of weeks. It is just a reality. And so business is very difficult, especially when you take it personal and you're emotionally aligned to it, because of like my journey. You know, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, a hand at a company or money or whatever. This is all comes from me. So I take everything very personally in the work that we do.
Following on that, Rabiero is asking, how do you balance entrepreneurial ambition with ethical responsibility, particularly in an industry where the pressures of cost cutting, project deadlines, regulatory loopholes can sometimes drive harmful practices or create negative impacts on local communities?
Yep. So our companies, we've talked to that, and I didn't mention this, but we're built on our 7 core values. They're ethics, performance, compliance, schedule driven, alignment to client, employee utilization, and culture. Seven components to our ethics, and then we have other things that make up the Compost way. So 7 ethics, or seven core values: entrepreneurial spirit, agility, ability to do multiple projects, etc. So that in all is called the Compost way. Every office we have is modeled after that. Everybody understands that when we manage projects, when we interface with clients, whatever we do it with our core values in mind. And it's not just lip service, it's what we do. To me, it's our outline. I don't want to say Bible because I don't want to, be derogatory with that, but that's how we do our work. Every day, I'm confronted with things in and around a situation that mode of doing business around core values always serves us well. It always serves us well, right? Sometimes we lose, but in the long run, we will win. And it's played out with our clients. It played out with our turnover, with our employees, with how aligned our employees are to us, and what they're willing to do, right? Sometimes it's not always good times at companies, and you have to gut check, and people have to stick around. And when COVID happened, people were jumping left and right out of companies. Right, they're jumping. We had a very low turnover. We had some, right? Some did question and decided to go to other industries or whatever, but very low. People knew what we were about, and the way we treated our people during COVID, the way we treated our people through good times and in bad times is really when you figure out what people are made of. It's not good times. It's easy in good times, and bad times is when you know. And when we're in bad times, we've hit everybody in the mouth, right? Whoever comes, we're hitting them right square in the teeth. And we always get up when we get hit. And I hate to use those kind of analogies, but we're fighters and we're soldiers. We're men and women that don't back down from a challenge. And that fighter mentality, which is embedded in me, I've translated to my people. And it is expectation that they show up big and they do as best they can in accordance with their core values. And if they make mistakes in that mode, and it happens, as long as they're accountable and they learn from it and they don't do it again, we're on board. Own it, right? I mean, this is it, right? So I think we're different kind of companies. We're trying to set the tone for others to follow. Whether they do or not, I don't know. Again, we can only affect our sphere of influence, but this is what you'll hear us barking all day long.
I'm going to move to innovation and technology adoption. Haley Carrasco is asking, how do you approach innovation and technology adoption within your projects, and what role do you see emerging technologies playing in the future of engineering?
I mean, technologies are important, right? I mean, depending on what you're a designer, you're a drafter, you're an engineer, you're an accountant, finance professional, everybody needs the tools of their trade. And I don't know that we always want to be on the forefront of that, because sometimes there's a lot of inefficiencies and whatnot, but we want to be efficient with that. So technology, to the extent that we can be efficient with, we want. And I say the same thing about AI, right? Because everybody's terrified about AI. Oh my God, the jobs and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, 10, 15 years from now, we might have a bigger problem. Right now, do your best, bring your A game, move, take these opportunities, seize them. How can we utilize AI in some of the work that you're doing? Monetize that and be more efficient. I don't want to cut a single job, but I maybe don't want to hire as much moving forward. With those things. So I think you should embrace technology. I think it's a mistake not to. I think we need to lean many times on the younger generations to help us do that. But you got to tie that to the wisdom of the older generations, right? And some of the lessons learned and all that, so that some of that doesn't get lost in the minutia.
So Ella Surdika is asking, how did your steps toward achieving your career goals change as you gain more experience in your field, or maybe they didn't?
Say that again. How did my experience?
How did your steps toward achieving your career goals change as you gained more experience in your field?
I mean, so I'm going to say maybe 10 years into my companies, I got to a place of financial security where I wouldn't have to worry about money anymore. At that point, it was a very real reckoning within myself around, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a billionaire? Or do I want to have a legacy and a portfolio of companies that made a difference in the world? I'm taking the latter. That's kind of where I approach it. I want to have a lot of money. Cool. I don't want to die with a lot of money, right? I want to give my kids a hand up, not a handout, right? And so, those types of things. But finding this joy, right? This fulfillment and actually doing something for other people outside and not for profit is really been the culmination for me of excitement and legacy. And, I like meeting a kid at Chipotle, Mr. Campos, I'm your scholarship recipient. And, I'm a junior now, blah, blah, blah. There it is. And that gives me so much more joy than going and buying a sports car, doing, that empty. And so that I would encourage people really to try and find what is the mission, because everybody has a journey. And that's their power, right? I mean, that their story is their power. I wouldn't run from your story, regardless of it. Embrace it. Understand what drives you in that story, because everybody could help depending on what they have something that they want affinity to, and I think that would help them point to that right. If you do that, right? I mean, how do you lose? How do you lose? I don't have any regrets about that.
That's the compass, I guess.
Yep.
Brandon Bernier is asking, once you get a new business off the ground, what is the most important thing you have to do in order to ensure that the business can sustain itself?
It depends what type of business is that. Is it a commoditized type business? Are you manufacturing? Is it people? I don't know if I could answer that question as broadly as it's presented. For us, what it's meant is leading with core values. Trying to bring the best technology in an efficient way to the table for us to do the work that we can, bring in the best people. And a lot of those things that everybody tells you, right? Everybody tells you it's hard. It's hard. Business is hard. And there's no other way to put it. Stress is stress. You are going to get beat up. Things are not going to feel good. If they feel good, something's wrong. Okay. I celebrate for about 1 hour anytime I have a victory. And the next day I'm back to work doing something, because are you going to grow or are you going to go back? When I truly retire, I'll truly retire. But in this mode, if you're still in the game, you've got to keep running. You got to keep gaining, making gains. To me, it becomes a game now, where I want to see how far can I take this, and that's what's driving me. Other people are going to be driven by different. Some people it's purely finance. Okay, and that's a different metric. It's kind of a mindset I don't have, but I get it. And that becomes a game too. So I guess I would just say that every business is different. Every business is different. But if you lead by a set of core values and principles that you have, and you start that from the beginning, and you have a mission beyond your companies, I think that for me, I think that's the key right there.
You might have answered this question, but I'll ask because it's a good one as we're approaching towards our time here, end of our time here. Andrew Chu is asking, as I'm about to graduate with a degree in civil engineering, what skills should I focus on eventually to eventually create my own opportunities or make a bigger impact in the industry?
Well, I don't know if he has a job. I don't know, if he's looking for a job. I mean, I would assume that at this point, if he's about to graduate, he's done some reckoning with himself around what he wants to accomplish in his career. I really can't tell you what you need to focus on, because I don't know what those goals are. But I can tell you again that you need to be open-minded. You don't know. Okay, none of you know. None of you know. Okay, you might be smarter than me. Chances are you are. Okay, but you don't know. You don't know. Don't go into business thinking that you're going to tell people what's what. Go in with an open mind, be ready to listen, and be able to offer your opinion and your support as often and as quickly as you can. Okay, jump in there, jump in the mix. Don't be scared or intimidated. Imposter syndrome, there's no place in your mindset. Get in there, mix it up. Let people know that you're for real and that you're trying. God, and I'm not trying to be the old guy beating up the younger generation. I want these young kids on fire, and we have some of them, but the majority of them aren't. And we're still trying to figure that out, right? So stand out with the older folks. Stand out with the powers that be that are going to influence your career. Let them know that you're here. You mean business. You're here to win. And if you do that, I think you're going to be on a fast track. Whether it's to start your own company or to get to manager, director, whatever your goal may be.
And a similar question, Mohammed Hussein Haidari is asking, what key qualities do you believe are essential for effective leadership in the construction industry? And the second part you answered, but I think it's a good wrap-up question. How do you foster a strong company culture?
The latter first. So company culture, I take that on myself. That's why I'm chief culture officer still. Embed these core values, lead by a mission. We've talked about this, I think, in nauseam here. So that's what the culture. In terms of construction, and what was that? What do we want to focus with?
So what key qualities do you believe are essential for effective leadership in the construction industry?
I mean, construction's tough, right? It's a tough business. You have to be strong. You have to be knowledgeable about what you're talking about. But all the things that we've talked about, insert yourself, be willing to learn, get a mentor if you can, get the right mentor, ask questions, own it when you make a mistake. One thing that engineering college does not teach you is soft skills. Okay, and even project management. Be a good project manager. Take some project management classes. Understand what a balance sheet and a profit loss statement, like what is cash flow? Right? Why is that important? Businesses care right now, what do they care about? Money. How are you going to monetize? How much money are you going to bring to the table? You want to capture an executive's attention? Tell them how to make more money. Okay, that's easy. I would tell each and every one of you, whatever company you end up with, it is your responsibility to know the management. It is your responsibility to go have 1 5-second memory with the CEO or with that director that may not be in your work stream, but is an important individual in the organization. Okay, whether you have an open door policy or not, find a way, meet them in the parking lot, bring them a cup of coffee, kiss ass. Okay, do what you have to do. And I'm just being real. Do what you have to do so that when the time comes for a layoff, when the time comes from a promotion, when the time comes from anybody to be contemplating you, that person has an understanding of who you are and you're not just somebody on paper. Super important. Super important. I cannot tell you how many times I've had a discussion with somebody that wants to fire somebody or they're having a problem, but I'm like, wait a minute, that's that person that I met that time. I have a different recollection. Let's talk this through. And then everything pauses. Okay. So just know where to assert yourself and make yourself relevant. Make yourself relevant in business. That to me, that's super important. You cannot even have a good skill set, but if you do that well, you're going to live. So, you know, take that for what it's worth.
That was great. It was so many good advices here. I was like, I should have taken notes.
It's recorded, so
This was a great conversation, Marco. Thank you so much for your time and your openness. I think I felt like really very candid answers coming from your heart. We have a winner. Kiara Gonzalez from Purdue University is our scholarship winner. Thank you, Marco, so much. Before we say goodnight, we would like to say a special thank you to our sponsors, University of Florida Rinker School of Construction, Arizona State University Del Webb School of Construction, and University of Colorado at Boulder Construction Engineering and Management Program. Well, we look forward to seeing you on November 19th, and thank you so much, and reach out with questions or inquiries if you have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.